Always nice to stir it up because each one teach one, and I'm telling you, looking back at all our stir it ups is just pure knowledge. Now tonight we're talking about repatriation. This is something that we keep visiting again and again because there's so much to learn from it. There's different stories, and of course we want to inspire those who are away from Africa to come back. Now, in case you don't know what repatriation means, it means the return of someone to his or her own country. In this case, we're referring to the voluntary return to Africa by people of African descent who believe that they're returning to find their roots or to their ancestral homes. Now, slavery, which in most cases was the reason why Africans found themselves in the Western world, had historically been widespread in Africa. Systems of servitude and slavery were common in parts of Africa in ancient times, as they were in much of the rest of the ancient world.
Yes, now Africans were forcefully taken for debt slavery, enslavement of war, captives, military slavery, slavery for prostitution, criminal slavery, domestic, and of course court purposes. Descendants from these slaves today form part of the Western world's black population, and some of them want to voluntarily repatriate to Africa or to escape systemic injustice in the Western world. Today we focus on Sister Lorna Simeon's repatriation to Africa, Ethiopia specifically, in 2007 from the US of A.
Yes, now I was blessed enough to meet Sister Lorna a couple of times since I've been going down to Shashamani, and she's also been visiting Kenya a couple of times as well. She's a sister who's part of the 12 tribes of Israel from the tribe of Simeon, which, if you forgot, is May. And today we get to speak to her, and she's going to be telling us a little bit about her journey and her repatriation. So keep it right here as we take a listen to Sister Lorna.
Sister Nazizi, thank you for the invitation to participate in your radio program. I'm Sister Lorna of the tribe of Simeon, functioning with the 12 tribes of Israel for 45 years. You sent some questions. When did I repatriate and from where? Well, I repatriated to Shashamane, Ethiopia in 2007 from New York City, USA. I have been visiting Ethiopia since 1984 and made several trips before finally settling permanently in 2007. What motivated me to repatriate to Shashamane? Well, as a Rastafarian, Shashamane is our goal. His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie, the Lion of Judah, had given crown land for repatriation, and there was a community already established with fellow repatriated Rastafarians. So I yearned to join them. Also, the possibility of making a contribution to the development of Africa was rather attractive. I was also ready to escape Babylon, where there was no inheritance for us.
Vibes Radio. Nobody can stop reggae.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We just got to hear from Sister Lorna. She's been in the 12 tribes of Israel for over 40 years. And of course, you heard she'd been visiting Ethiopia since the 80s. Yes. And then she came in 2007 to settle completely. So that should tell you something about repatriation. You need to be one person who's been traveling, first of all.
Yes.
Unajua ukitaka kurepatriate sheriff wezi amkatule useme I'm going to Kenya. And then sasa the culture shock and a lot of things. So if there's a place in Africa that you have been traveling to every now and then, maybe that is the place where you should start off from. And then from there, maybe you can find out about other countries and other places. So, of course, we're still talking to Sister Lorna. And we got to ask her about some of the achievements since that she repatriated to Shashamane.
Some of my achievements since I repatriated. Well, designing and building my house is number one, and planting and growing my own food. Another great achievement was seeing my 2 adult children repatriated to join my husband and me. I also had 3 of my grandchildren born in Ethiopia, which was such a joy. My most memorable moments in Ethiopia, number one, I must say, is receiving my Ethiopian ID. Also being present for the Bob Marley 60th birthday celebration at Addis Ababa and Shashamane was awesome. And I must say, having the opportunity to share time with the Crown Prince of Ethiopia's Imperial Highness Zara Yacob Aspa Wasson and Haile Selassie the grandson of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, and also having the opportunity to celebrate a few of his birthdays with him. That gave me great joy. Assimilate in the Ethiopian culture, being involved in the education of the next generation through our Jamaican Rastafarian Development Community, becoming a member of the Board of Directors of the JRDC. That was very instrumental in achieving permanent residence as foreign nationals of Ethiopian origins for our Rastafarian community. Also organizing and executing in conjunction with the Shashamane City Administration a fundraiser called the Mayor's Ball at the time of the Ethiopian Millennium.
Strictly conscious vibes on Cease and Seckle.
And yes, we are starring it up, and today we are featuring a special spotlight on Sister Lorna Simeon, who repatriated from the US of A to Ethiopia in 2007. Now, we caught up with her and also got to ask her some of her biggest challenges, because of course, you know, it's not easy when you're repatriating these. Most of the challenges are going to be getting maybe with the government. And like you heard, she said that her biggest moment was when she got the ID, the Ethiopian ID.
Yeah, that was a difficult one for a lot of Ethiopians. Wengine walikuwa wameka 30 years, 40 years
Yes.
without leaving Ethiopia, because once they left, unajua ingekuwa kuna fine because you've
Excuse,
overstayed first of all your passport stamp.
Yes.
Uliingia hapa 30 years ago, and then
ulikuwa wapi?
you just went undercover.
Ulikuanga wapi?
So yes, there was a lot of challenges for them when it came to the ID, and last year actually they were able to get their IDs, which is a really big deal, right? So let's hear what Sister Lorna's biggest challenge since repatriating to Ethiopia has been.
The biggest challenge since repatriation: adapting to living with people of a very different culture. Also living in a rural community, seeing that I was coming from the big cosmopolitan city of New York. How did I deal with the language barrier? Well, little by little, I'm learning Amharic enough to get by. Plus, there are many locals who speak adequate English, which makes it a little easier. However, the regional language is Oromo, so I have to at least know how to greet and say thank you in that language.
Welcome to the headquarters of Positive Vibes. This is Cease and Seckle on 104.5 Vibes Radio. Nobody can stop reggae.
And we are stirring it up right now, talking to Sister Lorna all the way from Shashamane, Ethiopia, talking about repatriation, trying to see what some of the challenges are. And, you know, she's told us a little bit about the language barriers. Very important for people who are repatriating to go, first of all, somewhere, I think, Sheriff.
Yes, I.
At least unajua kuna wase wanaweza ongea English kidogo.
Yes, kidogo tu.
Yeah, because in Ethiopia you find a lot of people who can speak English. So even though you can't speak Oromo na Amharic, it's all right as long as you can communicate. But of course you have to learn a couple of words here and there. But a lot of people have been repatriating also to West Africa, and I think it's also because English, unajua?
Yes.
East Africa as well, because English is spoken.
It's easier.
And it's easier to communicate. But there's a lot of different, things that can be very challenging. Culture change. You get culture shock. Because I remember a friend of mine who I took to Ethiopia, and for them, just their food.
Yes.
Food too.
Yeah.
Alikuwa anashindwa. Anasema, munakulaje hizi vitu.
Yes.
Now, you know, for me, I've been eating anjera since I was a kid. My father used to take us to Ethiopian restaurants, and his best friend was Ethiopian.
Yes.
So for me, I think nilifa kwa Ethiopian from birth, because I was already eating jera at 5, 6, 7 years old. By the time I was grown, I feel like going to the Ethiopian restaurant, I know what to order.
Yes.
So by the time niende Ethiopia, niko at home kabisa, I'm feeling like okay. But it's not the case for everybody, right? The repatriation story is different for each individual. So we've asked Sister Lorna to give some little bit of advice for people who want to repatriate, and let's take a listen.
Any advice to the young generation who want to repatriate? I would say prepare yourself by furthering your education towards acquiring skills to be able to contribute to African development. Have a sustainability plan. Come prepared to exercise faith and patience. Africa awaits its creators and its creation.
This is Cease and Sickle on 104.5 Vibes Radio. Nobody can stop reggae.
Now, she repatriated to Shashamane in 2007. I've been blessed to see the works that she's doing there at JRDC. Amazing, amazing. Kuna shule marasu wamekuja hapo wakajenga pia. So a lot of the community is able to go to this school. Now, it's amazing. I remember going there around 2005-6 with Bebe Cool and Wire the Love Child. If you go onto YouTube and check out the East African Bashment Crew song Africa Unite, we actually shot part of the video in the JRDC. Very interesting. Unakutama nati, small natties, little rasses there in their khaki suits and everything, learning about His Majesty, going to school, which is super amazing. It's been also a great development for the community in Shashamane. And so we asked Sister Lorna, would she ever leave Ethiopia to go to another country? Let's hear what she said as we wrap it up. And of course, on the next hour, Wagwan is loading, where we are discussing jumping into relationships too fast. And we have a question that we need to ask you guys so you could reason with us on the next hour. But right now, asking Sister Lorna, would she ever leave Ethiopia as we come to the end of tonight's Stir It Up?
And finally, your last question was, would I consider living in any other part of Africa, or is Shashamane it? I visited several other African countries, including Kenya, and I could live in any of them. However, my sentiments remain with Ethiopia, where the Solomonic dynasty has existed until this day. We read of Ethiopia in the Bible from Genesis to the end in Revelation. It's a land of origins. And as we say, Ethiopia, yesterday, today, and forever. Rastafari. Give thanks for the invitation. I enjoyed sharing my experience with your audience. Asante sana. Selassie.
Staying true to the foundation of reggae music, Cease and Sickle.